refer to it and say, we've done our part.
Right. Oh, just from that picture?
Yeah. And,
and
so that, you know, and but the beautiful thing is, he says that's unacceptable. You know, and that certainly there continues to be a lot of racism, obviously, among certain ethnic groups. Okay, I'm almost done. I apologize. I just...
No, go ahead.
I'm just taking everything in.
Have you been here before?
No, it's my first time.
Yeah, this is the icons by Christopher Gossi.
Oh, you know the iconographer?
Yeah. You know Christopher Gossi?
I don't.
Yeah, African American.
I would love to meet him.
Really? Yeah, African American. He takes the Ethiopian icons and uses them as a model, and he makes the Ethiopian iconographic style. So in other words, he took the Holy Ascension, which is done in the Gondarian style, Ethiopian icon. Then he does it again, but he gives his own little tweak. You know,
you know what? I absolutely love these icons. They're beautiful. Actually, we have
he's African American guy from Boston. If you
he's from Boston?
Yeah, he's Christopher Gossi. He's Boston area. Yeah. I want to spell Gossi.
Hey, Father, do you think if I contact you when I get back home, you can kind of find some resources a little bit more in respect to the iconographic tradition in Ethiopia, whatever you can kind of help me with, and also too, I mean, in our tradition we call it like the Synaxarion for like the saints, but
we have the same. We say Synaxarion.
Okay.
We say Synkasai. In our language it's Synkasai, but it's Synaxarion.
Okay. Maybe you could help me out with that too.
Yeah. Would you need one?
I would like one.
You want an Ethiopian one?
I would like an Ethiopian one.
Okay.
So I'll
show you a resource. Because Mother Magdalene, she typed the entire.
Lord have mercy, really?
Really?
No way.
To publish it on the web because she wanted it on the internet. She wanted it accessible to people. It's just not the Ethiopian one. So
is it up? Is it up?
You have to get the website.
Okay, cool.
Because there's one website, somebody apparently downloaded from that website and downloaded to another website, but they modified the file. I don't know how they did it because she did it in the format, you know, you can't modify the file. You know what I'm saying? But they modified the file, so I'm you know, so I have to be careful. But I'm gonna get the right website. I think it's St. Michael's Church in Texas. That has St. Mary. Maybe St. Michael Church in Texas. St. Michael's Church, I'm sorry, St. Michael's Church in Texas that has it. And I'll get it when I have your particular and I'll send it to you. That'd be cool. Well, I can just send you the file. I already have it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
I'll just send you the file.
Yeah, whatever right here.
I'll just send you the file. Yeah, she typed the entire. There's 2 volumes. She typed the entire.
You know what it's like? It's like the old school monks back in the day copying the manuscripts. She just did it electronically.
She just finished doing the Ethiopian Orthodox liturgy book. That's now typed. It's in Word. We have a Word document now of the whole liturgy book. Tabulated, just like the liturgy book and everything. I'm making some adjustments.
Wow, what a work!
So, and she did the entire liturgy book. The entire. Now we have 14 anaphoras in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. 14
hours.
The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has 14 anaphoras.
Oh, anaphoras.
Wow. Okay. We have 14, and we use all 14. And it's rare that I go to other churches that have more than 3 or 4. Even the Catholic Church only had. They have 3 that they use. They actually, when they were translating the 14 anaphoras, and I place my emphasis like that, into English. I'm sorry. The Arabic, Marcus, Father Dawood, Abuna Dawood, asked if you can get an Arabic version.
Really?
Because, you know, although we originally got them through the Coptic Church, I guess from whatever the process was, they lost them. Except for millennia. And so they just, over that period of time, they used the big basil. Basil as the primary one. They had Chrysostom and one other one. And so what the Haile Selassie did is overlook, they had them all there from Addis Ababa University, and they had them, and then from Cairo they had Marcus Daoud, Father Bruno Daoud, some students from there, and they all came together, and I think it took about 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. And they translated, they had the English version, and then they had the Arabic version, and then Haile Selassie said, I want you to put together also English and Arabic together in one book, and he paid for it out of his pocket.
Wow.
That's the version that came to the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So 14, and I can't name them all, but we use, and I haven't heard anybody else do that. We use the anaphora for the apostles, which we use that's a typical Sunday. That's a typical Sunday.
Huh.
Yeah. Anaphora of the apostles.
Interesting.
And of course on an apostolic day, like if it's St. John or something like that. And then we have St. Basil, St. John Chrysostom, St. Gregory I, St. Gregory II.
Wow.
We have St. John of Thunder, which is beautiful. This is from Bornigis, St. John Bornigis, they call him Bornigis. He has an anaphora. And if you've never heard it, because it's mostly done, a lot of the Greek churches do it in the Church of the Greek altar, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They use it there.
Wow.
Bornigis, they use it there. But other than that, you never go to the Ethiopian church to hear it.
Wow. That's incredible.
You know what's funny too? Just something to think about too. That little facet you're talking about in respect of liturgics. There's a lot that people just aren't aware of. I mean, even priests and stuff. And so there's a lot there's a disconnect when you have like stuff going on in the old country to hear. Like we just talked about, like that an Afro of John Thunder, and the Greeks using it in the Holy Sepulchre. Like that right there, that phrase, that connected with, but unless you want to hear it, you have to be Ethiopian church. Things like that, if people are made aware of that, I think that stimulates interest. Interest stimulates dialogue. You know what I mean? You get people talking. That's like one of those things. I was like, look at that, connections and stuff. That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, we're trying. One of the things that we're doing about the magazine is we're trying to get as much stuff up online. We want these documents to be downloadable for free. Just download it. I want to just spread it everywhere.
I know.
I just want anybody and everybody to get it. If you want to abuse it, abuse it. Whatever you want to do with it, you can do it. It belongs to God. It belongs to the Holy Spirit. If you want to take it and eat it, fine. You'll take it and throw it in the street, fine. I give you an apple. You're starving. I give you an apple. You can take it and throw it in the street and eat it.
That's right. That's right.
At least you got the apple, though.
I'm not gonna hold it back.
Well, that's our responsibility.
That's our responsibility.
Is to give the apple.
Yeah.
Is to offer the apple, and then what they do with it, that's on them.
For sure. At
Yeah,
least give them an apple.
Yeah.
At least make sure they got an apple.
And that's what we're trying to do. And we have a big prayer book we're working on, put up on it. We got a bunch of things we're working on. And that's what she does. Most of her time is spent, drafts of that. And because she has a novel she's working on.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah, we have a woman who wants to become a nun, African American.
Praise God.
From Milwaukee.
Praise God.
How far is Milwaukee from here? Is that far from here?
I have no idea.
Oh, she's from Milwaukee.
Praise God.
She has a degree in anthropology, a bunch of different things, and she's wrote a couple of books. She's well-rounded, she's a what I call black nationalist mentality, and that's usually what we get the church to try with that kind of mentality. But we soften it up once they get into it. I mean, it's a little too much for me, we soften the edges up a little bit, It's too aggressive. Calm down. It's the church now. You don't have to worry. So, because I was her catechism director, and because I was in charge of the catechism in the archdiocese at the time, but she came into the church, and she had problems with everything.
Oh, is that right?
Problems with everything. It took, her catechism took about a year and a half it took, which is a long time for Ethiopian church. It's usually 3 to 6 months.
Is that right?
But she took well over that, and initially every kind of problem from me. Her biggest hang-up was the Virgin Mary. I found that most African Americans had to deal with the Virgin Mary. She just could not understand it. Night calls at night, crying. This problem, that problem. And I would hold back to that. I can't get baptized. You cannot baptize you with this problem. I cannot. You have to be comfortable.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, Father?
I don't know. That's a question I can't answer. I really don't know. I can give you my opinion.
Right. You mean about the Virgin?
Why so many African Americans have this problem?
Aversion to
the Virgin Mary. I mean,
you know what? I'll tell you what's amazing. As I found this Negro spiritual about the Mother of God.
Really?
Yes, I did. I sure did.
Really?
I did because I put it in my thesis, in fact.
Trevor, why don't you have a thesis?
Yeah,
sorry. I'm standing. Honestly, I'm just standing.
We're going to show us around in a minute.
Because we're in the car, and I'm going to be sitting down in that plane, so I'm just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just trying to get there and let the blood flow.
I'm just going to let the blood flow.
Yeah, I got you.
I'd love to...
Yeah, there is. It came from Florida, and there's a lot of discussion about how it was that it developed, because, you know, obviously we don't really know. We just know that it certainly was a spiritual. It was sung by slaves. It was sung by slaves in Florida. So yeah, I put it in my thesis when I.
Wow.
So yeah, we should use that.
Yeah.
Is your thesis published?
It's not. Should be maybe.
I mean,
you know, there's one. I'll tell you why.
Is it hardbound or is it in a?
It is. You know what? Before we go, because I live in a neighborhood, I'll stop in and grab it. I have a copy. I'll give it to you. I can email it to you. Cool. You know, because the only reason why it's not published because there's one chapter that I wanted to write and I ran out of time. It was going to be called Back to Africa. Because that's the only part is I didn't get to write is about the church in Africa and its origins. Because the rest of it really is about the development of African American spirituality and how it's really an orthodox character. You know, as it developed. I mean, because for obvious reasons, you know, broken hearts will cry out to God. You know, a broken and humble heart, God will not despise. So you know, God honored their prayers, and so. He came to them. So anyways, yeah, I'll give you a copy before.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But you know, I hope now that, you know, I mean, I know you are a ways away. Turbo, you're real far away, but, you know, we should...
but we live in an age where that doesn't have to keep us
right,
apart.
and I think we should start going back and forth, you know. And,
this is definitely has to happen. I think, you know, the bishop, you know, he tied this together. It was through the Holy Spirit.
He did, exactly. And I believe that. Yes,
as much as I would rather have just got in my car, went east, and I keep seeing all these signs pointing to west. I want to see signs that say east on it. I'm tired. But that shows you how the church works. The bishop tell you to do something.
You do it. Yeah, that's right.
None of this hard-headed, you know, thing. So, and the way it came together was just so interesting because we were just talking, and then he asked me, he came up to me, he asked me to sit at the table to have dinner. That was the first night, I think it was a Monday night. So I sat there, and he was talking, blah, 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 and I was like, and one of the things I did was I did something I don't usually do, is when somebody asks me about, you know, are you from Ethiopia? I say yes.
Oh.
I say yes. Well, that's what we're told to do. The
yeah,
Ethiopians
come
here that brought the church to us, and the people in our inner circle, they tell us, you know, you're Ethiopian. In other words, because the Ethiopian church came here to do a couple of things. Of course, salvation being primary, but to also to heal that sense of not having that place at home. To heal that wound. So as part of healing that wound, you're Ethiopian. And in the Ethiopian church, all people in the church that come into the church are called English speaking. As to imply, Ethiopian will be the English speaking. They don't say convert. They don't use terminology like that. So usually when people ask me, I say, oh yeah, I'm from Ethiopia, but I'm born here or something like that. But I opted out of that because I said, well, that might not be the correct thing to say to a bishop who doesn't know me enough, you know. So I said, no, I told him my particulars as they are. Oh, he was just, blah, 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 blah. He said, well, would you convert it? You know, I said, well, I can't say I converted, but I don't usually like to use that terminology. I told him, I said, but because I came from nothing. So I didn't convert. You know? I just came into, I found the church, I came into the church. I didn't make a conversion. I just came in. I didn't switch out of anything to come into it. So we talked one night and he said, well, do you know my cousin? I think he's a cousin, right? Yeah. He said, you know, I have my cousin, he's part of this, he mentioned the St. Moses to Black. I heard of the organization. And he talked about that and Father Moses and what he was doing, and he was making that connection because he knows African American, making that connection. And so I know what it is. So after a point, he said, you know, my cousin Paul Abernathy, Subdeacon Paul Abernathy, he's a part of the group, and maybe you two can. I'm gonna have to call you back. I'm gonna call you right back. So. So I said, Paul Abernathy, as he was talking, I was like, I've heard that name before. So I said, well, I think I know Paul Abernathy, subdeacon, right? He says, yeah. He said, where do you know him from? I said, I've met him at one of the Indianapolis event, when they had it in Indianapolis a couple years ago. Oh, well, you two have to get together, because that's what he was telling me. Because he was mentioning it just to get to a point to tell me that we should hook. But so he just got right to it then. Well, I'm going to give him a call. He pulled his phone out. Well, I'm going to give him a call. That's why we got the call.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing happened to me, because I was talking to His Grace yesterday. And I was talking about, you know, I'm trying to get going in California and trying to see what my next step is after graduating. And it kept bringing you up. And then it was like, towards the conversation, I said, Deacon Paul, right? He was in seminary not too long, like a couple years ago, right? He's like, yeah. I said, I totally, you know, that's like the conference was 2 or 3 years ago, whatever. And he's like, yeah. And then
same exact thing.
And then it all,
and
then it took on a different.
And then so I couldn't believe, you know, when John sent me that text message. I was in a community meeting and he sensed that you was coming. I couldn't believe it. I mean, clearly the Lord brought us all together. I do believe that.
I believe that.
And I also noted, you know, I wasn't supposed to be up at the village that night either. I was only going up because there was a funeral in Greensburg, and then Bishop Thomas had asked me to drive him to the funeral. I was not supposed to be there at all. See, so the Lord, he brought it all together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is an important coming together, and I will say this: I was not sure when I first met you how to approach it, because I just wasn't sure. I know African Americans in your situation, and you know, person number one, you know, approach them like this, person number two, approach them like that. And you have to be very careful, because if you're person number two, like you're person number one, you get in trouble. And I made the mistake of not knowing the circumstances, the situation with an African American, which is one of the members of the church, actually, her and her husband. You know, and she ran into me, and I ran into her in the street just like this. I was going to a meeting for representing the bishop at a meeting. I was going to pick up my car at the garage, and I'm walking around that's Park Avenue, and make a left onto 42nd Street. Lo and behold, she sees me. And she said, well, I said, and so we started talking. And one led to another, and the things I'm saying, and she was talking about black issues. We would get to something like that. I forgot what it was. The point was that, but she said, well, I'm not black. So it really doesn't matter to me. I never would have thought she wasn't. You know what I mean? I never would have thought in my wildest imagination that this woman is not black. I never would have thought that. But in her mind, she's not black. That's okay. That's not a problem. But I'm glad I know now. So now I'm glad, you know, I'm glad we got this straightened out before I made a mistake and considered you a black person.
Yeah, right.
You know? I'm like, oh, you know, like a Tiger Woods thing. Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
So like that, plausible Asian, you know. It's that kind of mindset. You don't know what's happening. I mean, if Tiger Woods was walking down the street right there with a cap on his head on his way to the store, I mean, that's a black person, but by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? However, if you approach him that way, he's going to make sure you know that that's not the case. Okay? So that's how I felt when I first met him. I don't know if he's black. He seems black. I said, but I better kind of like keep it kind of low.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get into any riffs. I already had something. Father Jerome already was mad at me from the session we had when we first started the thing. And we said, I got Father Jerome mad at me.
What?
How does that happen?
He got mad at me.
Father Jerome mad?
Mad. I shouldn't say mad, but you know,
Father Jerome?
he was kind of like, you know, I don't think I'm gonna talk to him kind of thing. Not in a bad way. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't impolite. He was not impolite at all. And I think I probably went a little bit too far, but I'll leave that as a separate point.
Iron sharpens iron.
Huh?
Iron sharpens iron.
It was about Christmas trees, you know. We were talking about Christmas trees. I don't know how we got to it.
You had a schism over Christmas tree?
We had it, yeah. And, you know, because I'm against the Christmas tree. He was for it. I don't know how we got into it.
I mean, one day...
This one stop.